And that's not the case. Employees do have rights. Yes, they do. But employers also have rights as well.
I'm trying to give them work that they love. I'm trying to work that they excel at. And hi, everyone. Today, Shaelene McInnis, you know about our podcasts here, looking at wellness and the health and wellness of businesses and of people. And the person I am speaking with today on this podcast is someone I have known for, Sarah, I think it's 10 years. I think it's 10 years. Can you believe it's 10 years?
Yeah, it's close to it.
It's like close to 10 years. I'm going to ask Sarah to introduce herself, but I just want you to know that she's a great person. I've known her for a very long time, and I have used her services. And for anyone in business, you want a connection like Sarah. So I'm going to ask her to introduce herself, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the kind of work that she does. Go ahead, Sarah, please.
Thank you, Shaelene. So my name is Sara Bibb. I'm the CEO and founder of MKS HR Consulting. I run an HR consultant firm. I am a mom of 2 kids, a wife. We have a dog. I'm a passionate person about outdoors. But in terms of my business, I help small business owners manage the people side of their business. Mm-hmm. So that is essentially, hiring the right people for your business, ensuring that they stay. And then once they're hired into your business, helping the business owner with any of the issues that come up. So creating policies, helping mm-hmm. them work through different situations. Because as the business owners listening to this podcast know, once you start to have employees in your business, things do get interesting at some point. So I am there to help. Basically, I'm the HR department for small business. I'm a certified HR leader. I have been in the human resources space for close to 20 years now, and I have been serving my clients for close to 10 years as well. Mm-hmm. So it's been a long time, and I've seen a lot over the years.
I guess so, especially with COVID. I'm sure you've seen so much. But full disclosure, I have hired Sarah to help me because years ago I wasn't sure what to do in a certain situation. I had to get professional advice, and I have my own business with my own 8 employees, 10 employees. I'm not like a huge corporation. I don't have my own HR person. I'm certainly, as you know, when you're a business owner, you're trying to be all things. You're wearing all these different hats. But what I always tell my clients is make sure that you know the right people to speak with. So when I have had HR questions in the past, I have gone to Sarah, and she's helped me very much. So with hiring, with proper hiring, with finding ways to keep these amazing employees that currently we now have at Books and Lines. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to ask you, Sarah, in the work that you do, since so many of Books and Line clients are small, medium-sized businesses, do you see, and like me, we don't have our own HR person, right? We can't afford to hire a whole HR department or person. So we need someone that we can go to ask questions. So you must see some common mistakes that business owners, small, medium business owners are making. Could you maybe tell us some of those mistakes and how we can avoid those?
Absolutely. So what I found it, and the reason why I started MKS HR is that small business owners, all businesses run into the same issues once they start to have employees. The difference between a smaller business versus your larger ones, like Walmart as an example, is that you don't have that HR department, that in-house person that you can pick up the phone and call. But what I find the biggest mistakes with the smaller businesses is that they'll do a few different things. They might Google it, and then they're inundated with a ton of different answers, and then they kind of get overwhelmed, and then they don't know what to do. So then the next thing that they might do is go, okay, well, maybe if I don't do anything, it'll go away on its own. It'll solve itself. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And a lot of kind of what the biggest mistake that smaller business owners do is that they think that if they talk to their employees, that somehow that's going to get them into trouble, be it,
Mhm.
they'll get
Yes.
sued or they'll have the Ministry of Labor in Ontario call them. And that's not the case. Employees do have rights. Yes, they do, but employers also have rights as well. And
Mhm.
that's where someone such as myself, because I know, specifically in Ontario, all of the employment standards, laws,
Right.
human rights, health and safety. It's my job to know all of that information so
Mhm.
that when a client comes to me and says, hey, for example, this employee has, made a harassment claim. What do I do? How do I handle that
Yes.
situation?
Yeah.
And sometimes I had one client quite a few years ago. She came to me and she said that she had this employee, worked for her for a couple of years, and things were going great. And then all of a sudden, the employee's performance just turned on a dime and it wasn't what it was before. So she wanted to go down the road of terminating. So, how do I go about doing that properly? My first question, as opposed to
Mm.
let's take that termination path, was,
Yeah.
well, have you talked to this employee? And
Yeah.
her answer was no. So I said, well, let's figure it out, because it's not to say that termination is the wrong way to go, but does it make sense for that particular situation? And it's a
Right.
very case by case. So once we figured it out and we got talking to the employee, it was discovered that the employee just didn't enjoy their job anymore, and
Yes.
they were looking for other work, but they didn't want to leave my client in a situation where they were left with no employee. So
Right.
once they had that conversation and dialogue,
Yeah.
then it was like, okay, sure, how can I support you? I'm fine if you want to leave our company. How can I support you in that? I'll give you time off for
Yeah.
interviews.
Yeah.
And then she didn't have to go down maybe an unnecessary path. So
Right.
definitely,
That's really good.
um yeah, employers, you have your own rights. Talk to your people. You
Right.
talk to
There's so
someone like
many
me.
alternative. Yeah, there's so many alternatives to termination. Have a conversation. Maybe the person's going through something personal, or what I've done is I'm trying to, for my employees, I'm trying to give them work that they love. I'm trying to work that they excel at. And some are great trainers. So I'm trying to encourage that part. I agree with you. There's so many steps before anything like termination, and a conversation is so important. And again, but I really liked what you were saying about, hiring the right people. So you help employers like me hire the right people. How do you do that? Can you yeah, actually, I'd like to know about
Yeah.
that.
So the first thing that I do once I sit down with a client is I start to build out what I call your ideal candidate avatar. So as a business owner, you have your ideal client that you want to sell
Mhm.
your products or services to. When you're hiring, you want to have an ideal person to do that job. And obviously some of that avatar is going to be built on, what are the technical skills? What do you need to be able to do that job? So we could use your business, Shaelene, as an
Yes.
example. As
Yeah,
as a bookkeeper, what are those technical skills that
right.
people need to do that type of a job? But then I dig a whole lot deeper and I go into, so based on that job, what's the type of person that would work well? So as a bookkeeper,
Mm.
you want someone who loves numbers and
Mhm.
has that kind of mindset. Or if you're looking at a sales role, you want someone who's results driven. So that avatar really kind of builds everything else that's in the hiring process. So then I can build a targeted job ad that's written in a way where job seekers are going to find that job ad and
Yes.
understand this is why I want to apply. Because the
Yep.
biggest part of hiring, and I've always thought this for many years, but it's especially super important now since COVID, is job seekers nowadays want to know, why do I want to come work for you? Why do I want to
Mhm.
leave this permanent job I already have right now, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
sort of looking to see what's out there. It's why come work for us. And so I
Right.
help them build out that kind of targeted job campaign. And then you screen resumes, interview people, and of course, definitely do reference checks. And
Yes.
probably the most important part is get them to have a signed contract. What I find a lot of small business owners, and I've come
Yes.
across this in the years, is that their current employees that they have now, don't have signed employment contracts,
Mm.
which the employment contract is really what protects the business and the business owner for any kind
And
of legal liability.
you help create that contract. That's
Yes.
fantastic. Yeah. No, no,
Yep.
that's absolutely key. You remind me of a story. I hope you don't mind me just speaking,
Go for it.
because this is exactly the perfect example. Before I started working with Sarah, I went to hire on my own. I put an advertisement saying, this is what I'm looking for. I need someone with QuickBooks Online experience, QBO. And anyone who's a bookkeeper knows what that means, QBO, and you got to do this and how to do entries and understanding HST, etc. So I had managed to book 8 people to interview, and out of the 8, 5 of them came into my office and they sat down, and in the advertisements it said, how many years of QuickBooks Online experience do you have? 2+ years was mandatory. I preferred 5. So out of the 8, 5 of them came in, and I said, okay, because I want to double check that they would say what they had sent me in writing. And I said, how many years of QBO do you have? 5 of them asked me what QBO was. And I was like, I realized I just wasted so much time, and my time is valuable as a business owner. I'm letting everyone know, if you own a business, your time is valuable. So the best thing I did was then go to Sarah and say, oh my God, can you please help me hire people? Because at least by the time they'd gotten through her, I knew at least I was getting qualified candidates, because it was
Yep.
such a massive waste of my time to try to do this on my own. So I just remembered that story just now, Sarah, to say,
Yep.
because I'm
Yep.
like, oh,
Thank
you're
you.
so
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You're so right. So this is why it is of value to hire an expert. That's for sure. And I always say that hire someone else. Do what you do best, your highest value, and then hire the experts in the other areas, which is why I just go to Sarah now.
Mhm.
Okay. I know that Sarah's going to start running some workshops for business owners with employees, and I know that I'm very interested and will be attending those. Can you give me some of your ideas for some of your upcoming workshops?
Sure. So I've kind of broken them into kind of three different like topic areas. So one is around that hiring process.
Mhm.
So I have a proven 7-step process that I do for all of my clients when I hire employees for them. And it's really how to hire that right employee the first time and
Mhm.
make sure that they stay. So taking through them that whole 7-step process, and that's the same process that I use.
Yeah.
And the idea, especially for small businesses, is that unlike larger companies, you don't have like a hiring budget every year. So if Jane Smith doesn't work out on a smaller business, it's a much huger impact because
Yes.
you got to go through that whole process again. So you're
Mhm.
spending the money, but you're also spending that time, which is
Mhm.
why I want to make sure let's get it
Exactly.
right and do it right the first time. Another area is kind of around that legal side of HR. So,
Yeah.
like we had talked about, if you do need to terminate an employee, how do you go about doing it properly? What are your legal obligations from common law standpoint, employment standards? A lot of smaller business owners don't know that, and I
No.
saw that come out during
Yeah.
COVID.
Oh, I
So,
bet. Yes,
yeah,
I'll bet.
yeah, there's lots of subtopics within that as well. And then the third would be kind of managing the different personalities that you might have on your team. Um, we're all individual people. We all have unique personalities. But I had a client over COVID go through some issues with communication once they had to work remotely. So
Yep.
we went through and used a personality assessment system, and we figured out what the team dynamic was. What are their all unique personalities? And once you have that information, then you can learn, oh, okay, Jane's really good at numbers or really good at training. So I'm
Mhm.
going to
Yep.
put her in a role where she's going to shine because
Mhm.
that's what she's interested in. But if you put her in a role where she doesn't like to do that stuff,
Yep.
she's not going to produce at the level that you're hoping her to produce. So
Right.
kind of doing some workshops in that area as well. So I'm super excited to start launching that over this
Well,
fall.
I'm very excited about that because I will be attending all of those workshops. I have great employees. I have amazing employees. I'm very fortunate. But I want to make sure that I keep these amazing people working with Books Online, and I hope that they do, because their success, my success, it's all together. So I'm really happy about that. Now, just so the audience knows, we will be sharing all of Sara Bibb's contact information on the podcast. Not to worry. I am going to ask Sara to share her website. I think maybe the website or her email address if anyone wants to contact you. And again, if you can't reach Sara or you don't catch her information, you can always call Books Online. We're happy to send the introduction to Sara. So Sara, why don't you share some of your contact information with us now, and then I'll make sure it's also on the podcast.
Sure. So my website is www.mkshrconsulting.ca. And my email address is sarah@mkshrconsulting.ca. You can also reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Just look up Sara Bibb or MKS HR Consulting. The company page will come up as well. And then we'll share it in the show notes. The URL to learn more about the online programs that I'm launching.
Excellent.
It's a really long one, but we'll put it in the show notes, and then you can click on that. And it's just a matter of, if you're interested to learn more and get on the list to know once it launches, then that'll be down in the show notes, and you can click on that and get on the list. So once it launches, you have all of the information, and where to register and where to sign up.
Excellent. And again, most of my clients at Books Online, or my accounting clients, are small businesses and medium businesses. I cannot stress enough how much, if you are thinking about getting employees, or if you already have employees, how much you really need to have a decent HR contact. It's so, so important. And Sara's my only HR person that I speak with. So there you go. Great. Thank you, Sara, so much. As usual, amazing information. I'm really happy to share it with my network. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for your time. And anyone interested in speaking with Sara, you have her information. You can contact us as well. We'll make sure that everyone knows about the workshops that are coming up too. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Shaelene. I appreciate it.
Thanks.